Can you hear the message? Listen to the sound, beckoning to you, safe passage.
Every life, every day is a hero's journey. Every life, every day is a hero's journey. Listen to the sound. Can you hear the message? Listen to the sound, beckoning to you, safe passage.
Run at the walls in front of you and watch them disappear.
Watch them.
And know that there is something greater here.
There is something greater here.
Walk through the fire.
Walk through the fire.
Look directly into view.
Directly.
And trust the voice that's
Whispering in your ear. Every life, every day is a hero's journey. Every life, every day is a hero's journey. Every life, every day is a hero's journey. One more. Every life, every day is a hero's journey. My old friend Susan K. Wyatt, she's with us. I know, yeah. Wonderful, wonderful singer and songwriter. We were practicing this the other day, and Andy Monger said, she sounds a little bit like Tiffany Martinez. Why don't we get, So I'm going to dig up a couple of CDs and, yeah. So. A song about the hero's journey, and yet my title today is Follow Your Bliss. Do those two things connect? Of course they do. Follow Your Bliss. 3 little words from the author Joseph Campbell. And those words have been studied and analyzed and revered and, yes, scoffed at by people all over the world. My first encounter with that phrase was from somebody who was scoffing at them in a gentle and loving way. He was a CSL, Centers for Spiritual Living minister, and he used to refer to some people as bliss bunnies. Bliss bunnies. And what he was saying, and he was affectionate, but he's saying that there are people who are addicted to seeking a state of bliss, whether it's authentic or not. Maybe we've all been there at one time or another, because sometimes that can feel good. And his point was that sometimes you seek a temporary high from the latest feel-good, self-help, I'm okay, you're okay kind of book. And sometimes in that mindset, if you're there enough, you might be a little inclined to skip over or ignore or avoid looking at or dealing with the shadows in your life. I've been there. Absolutely been there. They just want that good feeling. We just want that good feeling, I should say. Well, hey, that's understandable, yes? It's not the whole story. And I have since come to understand that following your bliss is the exact opposite of fluffy and easy and avoiding the hard. Bliss is more than rainbows and unicorns, much as we may love them. Okay, we got a unicorn. Okay. Following your bliss is more than that. Following your bliss is honoring your divine contract to activate the higher power within yourself. Ooh, there's a sentence for you. Are you ready for that? Are you ready to sign that contract? Okay. Following your bliss is honoring your divine contract to activate the higher power within yourself. Right. It was worth going back. Thank you. Following your bliss is like living life with enthusiasm. Do you know the root of that word? Within, theos, theology. Following your bliss, enthusiasm is living with God within, or living within God, or both. It's connecting with your source at the deepest level. It's expressing your spiritual gifts at the highest level. And following your bliss is embarking upon your very own hero's journey. Oh yes, you are on a hero's journey. Absolutely. Let's play with that. You may remember that last week at the very end of the talk, I asked you if you had seen a movie called The Wizard of Oz, right? Or read a book or seen the movies of The Lord of the Rings, or Homer's Odyssey from Greek mythology, or Siddhartha by Hermann Hesse. Star Wars, or any Disney movie ever, everything from Cinderella to The Lion King, even a series of books that we call the New Testament. Every one of them is an example of the hero's journey. Now, do you know the concept of the hero's journey? I do not understand it at a very deep level. There's a lot to it. It goes deeply into Jungian psychology, which is way above my pay grade. And there's a series of books by the aforementioned, what was the author's name? Somebody help me out here. Joseph Campbell. Following Your Bliss and the hero's journey are much the same thing. You see, the hero's journey is the universal story of humanity. That seems like an overstatement, but it's exactly that. And in every hero's journey story, there are specific story elements that show up over and over again. Whether you're talking about mythology or something that is happening to you right now in your hometown, there's always a main character, what Joseph Campbell and Jung called an archetype. An archetype is, boy, am I oversimplifying here. It's basically a symbolic representation of elements of humanity. It's an avatar. That's a cool word. It's an avatar. Charles Fillmore touched on this when he enumerated the 12 powers of God. They are 12 elements of God that are present in people. So, yeah, usually the main character at the center of a hero's journey story does not think of herself or himself as a hero to begin with. You know this, right? It's very often an ordinary, humble, quiet character who's called upon to do heroic things. Why? Because there's no one else who can do them. You remember we talked last week and the week before about your life's purpose. Your life's purpose is yours and yours alone. Only you can do what you were called here to do. The truth is, you are unique in all the world. Your purpose is yours. Now, whether you are humble or heroic, your gifts are crucial. And whoever you are, I'll say it again, you are on a hero's journey. Everybody who's on a hero's journey, raise your hand. Okay, come on. You don't know what it is necessarily, but it's going to call to you one of these days because that's how the story starts. The story begins with a call to action. And more often than not, the hero responds by saying, who, me? No. God, are you kidding? We've all been there. Did Frodo want to take the ring to Mount Doom? Heck no. But he realized, and he realized it before anybody else did, that he was the only one who could. And he was the only one who could precisely because he was the smallest and weakest and most humble of the company. Now that seems counterintuitive. How did him being the most humble one qualify him to be the only one who could undertake this heroic quest? After all, he was surrounded by great warriors and heroes. The thing is, precisely because those warriors were so powerful, any one of them would likely have been tempted to take the ring and use it for his own power. Maybe even Gandalf. Do you remember this? If you haven't read The Lord of the Rings, boy. Well, you're all catching up though, right? Of course you are. And so Frodo understood. Actually, how many people here have read The Lord of the Rings or seen some of the movies? Okay. You still follow the plot though. Okay, you got it. All right. I got it. Frodo understood, Gandalf understood, that the smallest and weakest had to take the ring. The last had to be first, to coin a phrase. And so the journey begins. And the journey always proceeds through some sort of earth-shaking event. A tornado, for example, or a storm that leads to somebody being swallowed by a whale. Sometimes the journey is physical, a literal trip to a new place. It is always spiritual. It is always a spiritual journey from our ordinary lives to a place of extended and expanded consciousness. And as the journey continues, the hero encounters challenges, seemingly impossible, insurmountable, devastating challenges. What happens? Friends show up. Unexpected friends, unexpected aid and help. The Tin Man and the Lion elements and events come to the hero's aid when it is needed the most. And so somehow, through faith or just sheer grit or just knowing that the end is important enough to make the effort, our hero manages to rise above the challenges. And that way, that part of the journey always involves a turning point. Somewhere in the journey, there's a turning point, and that turning point is a breakthrough into higher consciousness. And finally, we come to a moment of catharsis, a moment of crisis, a moment of decision. Toto pulls back the curtain. Siddhartha's journey takes him to a place where all the rivers flow into the sea, and in seeing that, he sees the totality of all reality. Jesus prays in the garden, and he accepts that his moment has come. And yep, Frodo and Sam, against all odds, make it to the summit of Mount Doom, and they throw that ring into the fire. Well, guess what? They would not have been able to do that if Gollum had not been with them. And the reason Gollum was there with them was because earlier in the story, they had found it in their hearts to spare his life, even when they really, really wanted to kill him and probably had reason to. They had the turning point. They had the step into higher consciousness. Let them rise above a desire for vengeance. In the entire story, in that entire gigantic trilogy, that act of mercy was one of the main turning points. That breakthrough into higher consciousness is what ultimately made the difference. And so you know how this ends. The hero manages to find the way home back from whence they started. Did I say that's how that ends? Well, you know what? You know better. It doesn't end, you see. It's true that there's no place like home, but the story doesn't end. It spirals and repeats and evolves ever higher until you reach a state of ultimate bliss. Now, at this point, you might be thinking, Mike, these fairy tales are nice, but dang it, I'm living in the real world right now, and it doesn't feel so damn blissful. It's scaring me. It's making me mad. It's upsetting me, and on and on and on. How do you follow your bliss when everything around you seems to be falling apart? Do you just close your eyes and cover your ears and make like a bliss bunny? That's one way. Another way is that you have to make a conscious decision to rise higher in consciousness and to radiate that consciousness to everyone around you. Easy to say, maybe not quite so easy to do. Shall I say it again? You must rise higher in consciousness and radiate that consciousness to everyone around you. 3 quotes from Socrates. The secret of change is to focus all your energy not on fighting the old, but on building the new. From Father Richard Rohr. There is nothing to be against. Just keep concentrating on the big thing that you are for. And from the man himself, Joseph Campbell, looping back to the beginning, Joseph Campbell said that bliss is the message of God to yourself. Amen, there it is. You see, there is no political solution. There is no temporal solution. There is no earthly solution. Every problem is a consciousness problem, and every solution is a consciousness solution. And you, I, all of us, everyone, everywhere on the planet, you are being called to your hero's journey. You are being called to follow your bliss to a higher consciousness. You are being called to follow your bliss to serve in a way that only you can. You are being called to follow your bliss as you express the gifts that the Holy Spirit has imbued in you. And so, your hero's journey is calling you. Awaken now. Remember now. Follow your bliss. Be. And know this. Always, 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 God's got your back. Thank you, my friend. Do you believe that? God's got your back? Turn to somebody and say, God's got your back. There you go. No matter what happens. That's a good one. God's got your back no matter what happens. How about this? I know the way to go. Come on, give it to me. I know the way to go.